Welcome to the Brendan Williams Show, where you'll hear comments on the Australian and world economy from an Austrian economics viewpoint, as well as other topics including real estate, precious metals, currencies, and market manipulation. And now here's your host, Brendan Williams. Hey, g'day listeners. As promised, I thought we'd talk about interest rates today. Firstly, what is an interest rate? How are they set? What is an interest rate? Well, it's an interest rate. Really, the interest rate is the price of money. And why does money have a price on it? Well, I'm talking in a normal world. An unmanipulated free market, the price of money is set by the savers, set by the demand of the borrowers on the savers. But so you need to have savings, you need to have some capital so that someone else can borrow that. So someone's lived below their means and saved capital, and really this is a time preference. So the guy that wants to, or the guy or gal that wants to start a business, open a factory, whatever, they may not have saved up enough in their day job or their other business or whatever they're doing, so they're willing to pay over and above those currency units to get those currency units today, to bring it into the future. I mean, we people take out mortgages because they can't, in this day and age, save up for a house, cash, unless they've got a very high income or they buy a very cheap house or whatever. But there is so the interest rate is what you are charged for using someone else's savings. That's the true rate of interest. Now, if we apply that to an economy, the rate of interest should go up if there is not enough savings and not enough capital for the demand, for people wanting capital so they can, build a shoe factory or something. So if there is not a lot of savings in the economy, or there's like the real free market, everything self-adjusts all the time. It's not as if things get really, really out of whack before they adjust. They adjust in every millisecond of every day. In a free market economy, these prices are set, and they may fluctuate, yes, but they're never allowed to get too far out of whack, basically, which is not what we have at the moment. So every millisecond of every day, the demand-supply dynamic is working on the price of savings. So in a free market economy, if there's not enough savings in the economy, interest rates will go up because the demand for those savings will be high. So the savers that have saved will demand a high price for their savings, which will send a signal to the market, to other players in the market. Hey, if you save, you're going to get really good reward for those savings. So, and alternately, if there's a lot of savings in the economy, if there's plenty of capital where lots of entrepreneurs and mums and dads and kids delivering papers have not that they sort of do that anymore, they've been wiped out, but that's another story. If there's plenty of capital and plenty of savings in the economy, there's a lot more savers wanting to lend, and more savers. The saver to borrower ratio is higher. So if there's plenty of people that have saved money and they want to lend it out, the interest rates won't be as high as if there's less savings in the economy. So the old saying, the cure for high prices is high prices, and the cure for low prices is low prices. So that this, in a free market economy, this thing adjusts itself microscopically all the time. It just adjusts itself. There is, and that's why, in sound money economies, when we've had sound money economies before, the interest rate is sat at around 5%. Now, it can go up and go down and fluctuate with the amount of savings and the amount of people wanting to borrow in the market, but there's never really a point in time when there's no savings, apart from sort of now. So that's the rate of interest, is the cost of borrowing someone else's savings. Now, when we apply that to modern economics, when we apply that to the housing interest rate, or the business interest rate, or the credit card interest rate, that we run into trouble at the moment because we have a manipulated economy. We don't have a sound economy. We don't have a free market. So we have a central bank, which in the US, they have had central banks before. Australia's never had one before, because Australia's only 200 years old, or thereabouts, depending on whether you're from the east or the west coast. In modern times, it might be 40,000 years old or older than that. Do we count the rocks? Do we count the fish? I'm not sure. But in recent history, since Europeans first arrived and turned the place into paradise on earth, with people driving around in cars and having electricity and mobile phones and such, we've only had one central bank. Unfortunately, we have one. But in the US, there was a central bank previously that was abolished after a certain amount of time, because it did not achieve any end other than a little bit of distortion and maybe some misery in the real world, unlike the huge amount of misery they cause these days. But so now we have a manipulated market, and we have these maestros, these academic nincompoops, these so-called economists that have no idea what sound money is, and even if they did, they'd have to keep their mouths shut. A bit like Alan Greenspan was a gold bug and a sound money advocate until he became the chairman of the Reserve Bank, and then he did all the things he would have criticised others for in the past. And the power corrupts absolutely, and he became the maestro that manipulated interest rates. So this is the trick in the book that the Reserve Bank says that it has a mandate for. So when they manipulate interest rates, when they say we're going to set an interest rate, they don't write it on a piece of paper and send it to the banks and say you will charge this for interest today. I mean, they're only fiddling with the overnight cash rate, the rate at which these banks gamble with each other on a nightly basis. This has nothing to do with a sound economy. This is total manipulation and criminality, basically. When they say they're going to put the interest rate down, they can't just send a telegram and put it down. They have to embark on a bond buying program and buy the government's bonds, and buy, the Bank of Japan is buying corporate bonds. The Bank of Japan's buying everything up, and they're getting to the point now where they just about own everything in the economy, and that's where our central banks that's the way they want to head. But yet they're owning it with fiat currency that's not backed by precious metal, which is what we spoke about in the previous podcast. So they buy the government's debt when no one else will. So at the moment, the government says we're going to help everybody out, which is totally wrong, but they're going to help everyone out by issuing debt and have the Reserve Bank buy the debt. And then that creates the dollars that the Treasury can deficit spend into the economy, and steal resources from the productive part of the economy and put it into unproductive parts of the economy. So right now what we have is this manipulated thing where the Reserve Bank buys the government's treasury bonds when no one else will, because if they didn't, the demand from the buyers of the bonds, they would say, hey, we're not buying that. And they are saying that. They're not turning up for the bond auctions. So they are saying that. There is no one from the general public turning up to buy this rotten, government debt. And why? Because the interest rates are so low. So, but like I said, they can't manipulate them anywhere, really. They can't arbitrarily put them down. All they can do is print money, is create currency out of thin air to enable the interest rate to go down. So, since 2008, they have embarked on a bond borrowing program, and it's just billions have become trillions. And they have painted themselves into a corner, and we know it, because sooner or later it will be ineffective. They will not be able to buy enough bonds on a nightly, daily, monthly, weekly basis, and trick the economy for much longer. They won't be able to force these interest rates down much further. I know there's examples of negative interest rates, but get off the grass. I mean, negative interest rates, does the bank offer you negative interest rates? Says, hey, come and throw your money in here and we'll take some off you every year for leaving it with us? No one's actually offering that. You're not taking out a mortgage and having the bank pay you $50 a month to have that mortgage. That's not the real world. So interest rates at the moment, unfortunately are the most important price in the economy. The price of savings is the most important price. And when it's manipulated by a central bank and a government and puts it out of whack, well, it's like holding a beach ball underwater. Eventually nature will take its course, and that beach ball your arms will get tired and that beach ball will pop up. Just like the rain falls out of the sky, they can only catch it for so long before the dam bursts. So any time a Reserve Bank and a Treasury interfere in the free market, or interfere in the manipulated market, they cause a distortion that will not be evident straight away, but it will come back and it will bite them on the bum. So you can manipulate anything you like in life for a certain amount of time, but eventually it'll correct. You will not be able to keep up the facade. And that's what's coming at us, the big correction. They talk about the big reset. Well, they're in for a big reset, all right. But there's going to come a point where it'll be ineffective for the Reserve Bank and the Treasury to play this game, and to for the Reserve Bank to buy the government's Treasury bonds, and for that to keep interest rates down. I think the game's just about up, and it doesn't matter how many bonds they issue and how many bonds they buy and how much currency the Treasury spends into the economy. Well, every time they do that, it actually makes things worse. It just doesn't show up straight away. People think, oh, that's good. There's going to be jobs. Yeah, jobs for people to build roads and bridges that may not otherwise be needed or in the wrong place, because you've got a central planner deciding where the currency goes. And like the USSR found out, you can't centrally plan an economy. There's no price discovery. No one knows what the price of anything should be after a while. They were lucky they could look at a free market like the United States and say, well, we know that cars are about, $3,000 each, or whatever it was in the day. But eventually, if you manipulate and centrally plan an economy, it will collapse, and we're heading for it for sure. We're down to, just a few industries left in this country making all the money, making all the currency. But sooner or later, they have over the years destroyed many jobs. It's the unseen jobs. You start a program over here with fake currency and employ people to do jobs that wouldn't otherwise be there. You cause a distortion in the market, and you are sucking resources from another part of the economy that would dearly needs them and love to have them. And as you do it more and more, which we're doing right now, which Australia is doing right at the moment, that's why the empty shops are showing up, and that's why there's, we can't really have all these people sitting around doing not much and collecting welfare checks. Sooner or later, like I said, it's going to bite them. So thanks for listening, everybody. There's my take on interest rates for this evening, and I hope you have a good night, and we'll talk to you on the next one.